What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. My Hero Academia Vigilantes, episodes 8 and 9. So, these episodes, so first off, Koichi and Pop meet Captain Celebrity, who's the #1 hero in the United States. Now, where not he or All Might is more popular, like across the world, basically All Might's probably more popular because Captain Celebrity doesn't have a Captain Celebrity has a lot of lawsuits against him, mostly involve I guess he has a lot of affairs with women, like he cheats on his wife a lot. And there's some collateral damage stuff. And he's kind of a prick. Whereas All Might is very much like the Boy Scout, like your Superman, your Captain America type personality. And yeah, Koichi does not like him, especially after he signs his name onto Koichi's All Might hoodie. Like he gets real pissed off about that. And it's revealed that Makoto is a cheerleader for Captain Celebrity. And basically, so Captain Celebrity tries to flirt with Makoto, but Makoto basically calls like his wife and basically basically does what to make sure that Captain Celebrity actually works on his image. And then so Makoto helps I guess change the cheerleading squad to appeal to both men and women. But Captain Celebrity's not happy about that. And then, so there's this whole it's a pretty funny thing is how Captain Celebrity's introduced. He's kind of a prick, he's your showboating kind of guy, Let's just say he's very lucky he didn't come across Stain, or else he would have been dead very quick. He would die. Stain would try to kill him. Like he's definitely the obvious caricature of the kind of hero that Stain would kill. Now we'll see more of him in the future, like some of his character development. He will be very important. And then Koichi learns that his mother is arriving to Tokyo, and basically, so Koichi tells Pop that he said that basically he told his mother that school's going well. Basically he's living a good life and he has a good job and he has a girlfriend. That's where the lie was. Like, okay, kind of school because everyone kind of looks down on him in school because of there's a little misunderstanding regards his apartment. As far as his job, he does the vigilante stuff, so he feels fulfilled with life and work. Now the girlfriend stuff is a straight up to lie. So when his mother comes and she asks very quickly to be his girlfriend, he calls Makoto and asks for a favor to basically pretend to be his girlfriend. Makoto agrees. And what's funny is the mother, his Koichi's mother, sees right through it very quickly because she's like, "There's no way a girl this attractive would be into you." I'm like, "Dang, that's a burn." Like, dang, man, even Endeavor would melt from that burn. Yeah. So that was funny, and then Pop appears, gets awkward. There's some awkward stuff, You can tell Koichi's mother does not necessarily approve of hero work, you know, basically due to the fact that how it affects the heroes' personal lives. How they're basically sacrificing their own personal lives to lit like to like do hero work. And so like, in that episode Koichi learns like Pop and Knuckle Duster's civilian names, which for Pop is Kazuho Hanayama, and for Knuckle Duster it's Tak Takashi uh, Kuroiwa. And basically like, so Knuckle Duster lies, says that Pop and Koichi have been helping him in a non-profit organization that goes around cleaning up trash, patrols, all that, which technically is true from us, as we would say in Star Wars, from a certain point of view. But it's true kind of, but in a very misleading manner. Now then, there's this whole like some cat villain like possesses a bus while and basically so basically Kuin injects Trigger into a cat. The cat possesses the bus, causes it to be like a runaway. Inganium tries to help, Koichi like gets in his crawler uniform to help, which reveals like his name is Crawler to Makoto and Shoko. So Shoko's his mother's name. And then basically like so Pop and Knuckle Duster use like a cat toy to lure the cat bus into a empty highway, and so that helps deal prevent a lot of civilian like injuries and deaths. And so and basically Koichi's able to use his quirk to like kind of fly him and Makoto out of the monster cat, to safety. And and so Shoko says that when Koichi was a baby, he would fly with his quirk, and she would like slap him to like get him down. And so Shoko then leaves. Makoto tells Shoko that she's not gonna rule out dating Koichi in the future. Yeah. So yeah, I mean these two episodes they were good, they were funny, there was a lot of humor with it. I mean it's kind of like basically it's more like introduce some. It's more like kind of an introduction chapter, episode with with Captain Celebrity, and then kind of like I wouldn't say filler, but it's kind of like a good like like hey we have so basically a procedural, and then we'll get more into like the overarching thing. Now Makoto learning that Koichi is the crawler. That's going to play a role, and she's probably trying to figure out how the heck did my truth detection thing not uh detect the how did it fail. And it's been a while since I last read the manga, so I'm trying to remember exactly how she puts two and two together. Like, does she realize that it was the naming that was the problem? I believe that's what happens. It has been a little while since I last read Vigilantes, and yeah, and that's a complete story. Now, so is the main series, but yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed both of these episodes, and I look forward to next week's. Zatsu Tabi, That's Journey, episodes 8 and 9. So in these episodes, episode 8, basically, Chika, Fuyun, and Yui take that bus, whatever, to into wherever, they go to Kur, they go to Onimichi, Osaka, and all that. Basically travel around, go different places. There's some issues with like this hot spring was closed, so they couldn't go to a hot spring. Now Chica, in the mornings, they'll go to one that's open. The other two are not happy about not being woken up to go to one, but since it was so hectic, Chica's like, "Yeah, it was everything's so hectic. I didn't want to wake you up." But I mean, it's more of like a bathtub than a hot spring. But it's whatever. They go, they see, I guess all these cats live peacefully there. It's kind of weird. Cat and peace is not something that two things I would necessarily put together, but that's besides the point. But then, Chica gets inspired to like basically, use her travels to help inspire like her manga writing. And so use some of the elements how she feels, from her work, like from her travels to put into her work, which, the basically her boss, like the editor, whatever, publisher, whatever, says that right now give a few more fixes, it could be a one shot. And then but she's happy. So that's like development. We get like so she actually gets something like approved. And yeah, so and then basically next episode, Chica's still going around trying to do find more inspiration for manga. And then and she's like by herself. So Chica goes by herself. And it's kind of like, the new year. And I guess she stays in a hot spring way too long. I guess it kind of burns her. And then yeah, basically. So yeah, I mean it was funny, two episodes, hey, go some places, get some inspiration from manga writing, from travel. And yeah, good slice of life stuff. Not much of an overarching thing, it's just basically uh tourist attraction of the week. So yeah, I like these two episodes. Look forward to next week's. Duck Dynasty, The Revival, Season 1, Episode 1. So, yeah, Duck Dynasty is back. One of the greatest reality, the original show was one of the greatest reality shows ever made, in a time where most reality shows is either competition shows or retards getting drunk. You had Duck Dynasty, which is like, a wholesome family, basically, preach, expressing, their faith in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and how they live, some of their quirks, especially with Psy, and now this show, Jace, Jep, they're not going to be in too much because they kind like Jep, I believe, had moved away, moved to Texas or something. Jace, I think he basically had, I don't know if he's necessarily retired or like just left Duck Command or something. Basically, some of a lot of these people from the original show, they're older, so a lot of them are close to retirement. They're not going to work as much. I mean, I think Godwin's fully retired, current day. Now he appears in the episode, so I don't know if he was just there to do podcast stuff or if this was before he retired, filmed before he retired. But no, so here's basically how things have changed since the last show had ended. So there's multiple businesses in that warehouse. So John Luke runs a coffee shop in there. So I don't know if the snow cone shop Adrian still exists. And and so Corey runs like a lot of the commander stuff. Like there's a lot behind the scenes stuff business wise she did that we didn't see in the original show. They do have a business to run. They can't show everything. And then and Bella like runs I think the gift shop. And Sadie has her ministry slash podcast she does in Willie's old office, which I guess Willie, despite giving approval, did not know that had happened. Yeah, and there's other podcast rooms that like a lot of the people from the old show do, like Godwin, Cy, and John Martin. They do a podcast on within there. Yeah, Martin's gotten some gray. in over the years. And Psy, Psy is Psy, and that's what we like. But yeah, and a lot of the kids, who were a lot, and so a lot of the people who were basically kids when the original show started. Heck, they were man, they were really young when the original Duck Commander and Duckmen shows were around. But basically, so at the time of recording this episode, basically, so Sadie and her husband have two kids. Now, current day, I believe there's like a third one on the way. Little Will like lives with his wife in Texas. Now they come back to Louisiana to visit a lot. John Luke and his wife Mary Kate, who we saw their wedding in the original Duck Dynasty show. They have three kids, and Bella is married. They don't have kids. That's yeah, and but basically the entire family lives like very close to each other. So you see a lot of like they visit, and grandkids are able to hang out with her. And so in Rebecca, who's kind of like the somewhat foster kid, basically the exchange student who basically just became kind of unofficially part of the family. Basically, so she had two kids. Now this episode we see her giving birth to her third kid. You know, and basically everyone's celebrating the birth of the kid. And Rowdy, who's like adopted, like during like late in the show, the original show. Basically, he's like at college at the time this episode was recorded. So yeah, so we have so yeah, you have obviously more family members. A lot of them have grown up, gotten older. Yes, a lot of people we remember as kids are like, oh, they're older. I feel old now. Yeah, but yeah, Miss K made an appearance, during like one of the parties, and I believe she appeared at the party at the very end as well. There were a lot of people there, but basically, so part of this is more focused on Willie, which makes sense. Willie's CEO, so he goes to y'all his first time in like 18 months. Because I guess he does so much stuff, he's not able to go to an office as much. And basically, he's surprised that the duck calls were finished, which not something that happened in a lot of the originals. So Martin and Gunn were like, "Oh yeah, we finished the duck calls." I believe John Martin does have a high up job at Duck Commander, so he does have to be a little more serious with his stuff, I guess. So Willie's like, "Wait, y'all finished? Okay." And he's surprised that there's nothing wrong, and yes, due to a lot of stuff, his age and being a grandfather, you know, his Phil's at the time of this episode's recorded, basically his Alzheimer's, diagnosis. Basically Corey realizes that Willie is trying to think much about his legacy. So Willie, during the whole company meeting, which he had basically had just learned was a thing, makes an announcement he's, as he says, fully semi-retired. Basically, he wants to find a successor, so he tests all his kids to see who has a chance to be. He basically does skeet shooting, lets him do skeet shooting to test see who can be a good successor. Yeah, they all suck. Lil Will, Sadie, John Luke, they try to do and Bella, they all try to do skeet shooting, and they fail miserably. Willie shows them how it's done. Ironic, because it's usually like he's the one who gets shown how it's done by Jay Sai. You know, yeah. So it's interesting. You have almost Willie trying to be like the Jace type character in this, in the sense, but he's trying to show them more about hunting. So that could be an interesting thing. Yeah, Willie starting to act more like Jace. But yeah, and so Corey talks to him about how he's probably processing everything. and then Willis thinks maybe how things were run with him when he was one office, how they were able to handle things, despite there not being like one guy like running everything. Everyone's really handled their own respective businesses well, respective like relatively well, and maybe it's like maybe there's a way there does need to be one guy running things, and but who knows? To my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about for like in the news because if a successor had actually been named, that would make big news. That would have made the news before this premiered. So I'm not aware of anything at the time recording this video. So yeah, yeah, and then of course at the end after we see like it was like I guess like a filming like a take. Willie's like rehearsing some of the lines for like the interview part of it with Phil. And he's showing it to Phil. He asks Phil gives a thumbs up, and that's done as like a tribute to Phil Robson, who unfortunately passed away like a week ago. Thankfully he's with the Lord. So of course prayers for that whole family, and yeah, it was a good tribute to Phil. You know, he's a man of few words, but thumbs up gave the message across. So yeah, I real like this episode. It is nice to see Duck Dynasty back. Nice to see good, wholesome entertainment back. Like this is a reality show the world needs. With all the stuff going on in the world, I don't think it can be undersold. Like seeing because this whole family, they're able to stick together through a lot. And they don't have a lot of bull crap that other famous families have. Like while they're famous families, they're basically you have so many degenerates. Whereas this family, the Robertsons, they're a good. From what we see, they're a good, loving family. They stick together. Fame has not screwed them up. Like, and and yeah, that's something that the world needs. So yeah, is I think we are all happy, happy, happy to see Duck Dynasty back. And so, oh yeah, here's what there's a funny. So after Willie makes his announcement, and basically everyone kind of somewhat forgets about it, right? They're like, "Oh, you made an announcement." When they knew about the announcement, they're like, "You made an announcement, whatever." So Willie walks in while Martin, Cy, and are doing like their little podcast recording, and Cy's like, and they're trying to figure out who's like potential like successor, and they ask, I think, is there Martin or Cy asked if the grandkids are a possible option. The Martin asked if the grandkids are possible options, and Will's like, no, they're little kids. And Sai's like, well, Europe's run by children. You know, maybe this is all a conspiracy by one of your kids to get rid of you. Basically, compared to like how British nobility and royalty would do stuff back in like the Middle Ages, and everyone in that whole room is just laughing at Sai's comments. I mean, it's Sai. Inside being Sai, I was laughing. I was like, yes, let's go. Sai is a national treasure. But yeah, it was. I really liked the episode. This is basically it's almost like they had left. Like, I mean, from what I know, Jace is not necessarily going to be in this show a lot. Kind of sucks. But there's still a lot of entertainment we can get from this. And yeah, they do some flashbacks to old episodes, like John Luke getting dental work, which is probably like his most memorable scene in the whole Duck Dynasty. And so we see a lot of basically for the one, and they do brief overview because we haven't seen a lot of these people in years, so we don't know much about a lot of them. A lot of them stay out of the public eye a lot. But it's probably good for a lot of them. Public eye is not for everyone. And yeah, I thought this was very good. I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. And that's a fact, Jack. And that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.